In the Gospel of Mark, chapter 3, verse 1 to 6, we see these words in reference to Jesus. He says, looking around at them with anger. So Jesus is looking around at the Pharisees with anger and grieved at their hardness of heart. So the context is the man with the withered hand, the miracle of the healing on the Sabbath, the Pharisees looking for any excuse to put Jesus to death. Jesus, before he's about to do this miracle on the Sabbath, they arrest to break one of the laws. He describes that Jesus looked around with anger and grieved at their hardness of heart. So three things from this gospel. One, Jesus, as fully human, experienced the wide spectrums of emotions, including anger. Jesus Christ felt anger. Just that statement should rule out the typical understanding, which is erroneous, that to be angry is to sin. No. If we say that to be angry is a sin, then you're saying that Jesus Christ is a sinner. Because he got angry. We see it in the gospel. And we remind that also at the temple, and they turn the temple into the marketplace, it describes Jesus getting angry. So anger, getting angry, is not a sin. It's simply a human emotion. And Jesus Christ, being fully human, also experienced the emotion of being angry. To be angry is not a sin. What you do with the anger could be sinful, but it's the action that comes after the emotion, not the emotion. So if out of anger you start slapping people around, well then yes, that's a sin. But not the anger. The anger is just an emotion. You allow the anger to take into this action. This is a sinful action, but not the emotion. Two, the Greek word for anger, in reference to here Jesus looking around at them with anger. By definition, the Greek word, the root word implies something that is swelling. So this constant, gradual filling up that eventually overflows with that emotion of anger. So just the Greek word itself, it refers to anger being the end result of something gradually happening within. It swells, it gradually grows and is like one drop after another drop, and eventually fills up. And anger is this emotion that comes out from this constant gradual process of something being filled up. And what's being filled up is of having some sense of opposition against something that is being said, something is being done, something that you oppose gradually swells within, and then eventually the emotion comes out of anger. So the second point here is, first point is anger is an emotion, not a sin, just as Jesus Christ experienced it. But two is the sense of gradually swelling, or constantly coming out of this opposition towards something. In that journey of things swelling up within us, that should be the context of prayer with God. So one, we think that anger is a sin. Two, if it's a sin, that's something I don't bring to God. Not to the contrary. Your anger, that which is welling up, swelling within you, must be the topic of conversation with God. If there's something in you that you're growing in anger against, that should be a topic of conversation in your prayers with God. Don't allow it to become this overflowing, this outburst of anger that now is expressing action and very likely into a sinful action. So before it gets to the sinful action, make it the topic of conversation with God. He knows that you're angry, and very likely angry at him. He's big enough to hold and to handle your anger. Therefore, a second misconception, the first one being that to be angry is a sin. False. To be angry is just an emotion. And the second one is this, that somehow you should not direct your anger toward God. False. That it's just a caricature of God, as if God couldn't handle your anger, as if your anger was bigger than God. Then you're making your anger an idol. God can handle your anger. That's nothing. Think of it as a little kid having a tantrum with their parents. That's us, children, who often have our tantrums and often direct it toward God, our Father. But do you think that God is going to be offended because you're having an emotional outburst of a tantrum? No. He's a Father. He will let you punch his leg with the little punches. And the Father will let you, because he knows once you get the outburst out, you are more able to be received in his love. It's like, I know, my child. I know you're angry. I know you're upset. I know you don't understand this, and it makes you upset. I know. But it's going to be okay. So to make sure you direct that anger to God, talk to him about it. And third, a very powerful principle here, it says, looking around them with anger and grieved at their hardness of heart. Something that I have learned in the manner in which I have allowed the emotion of anger to be the context of prayer, something that I even vent with God, is to learn that behind this hawk of anger is just a little kid who is hurt, who's afraid, who's scared, who's wounded. The hawk comes out, this big monster of anger, to scare people away. But after you've gone through the mask of your anger, you need to address the fact that there is a child wounded, hurting. In this case, you see that there's the anger, but what's behind the anger is that Jesus feels hurt. Feels hurt of the hardness that the Pharisees are having against him. He's hurt at the hardness of their heart. To know and to think of God who hurts when our heart gets hard, who hurts, who aches, who suffers when he sees us just full of anger and our heart cold as a stone. We don't care, we are angry. He hurts. God hurts. And how do we know God hurts? Because God, in the second person of the Holy Trinity, is fully human. So at the core of the mystery of the Trinity is a human sacred heart that feels emotions like you and me. So if you're angry, don't let it swell up to the point of outburst into an action that then is a sinful action inspired by just anger. Let it be the context of prayer with God. Take your tantrum and your anger towards him. He can handle it. But after you let your anger out, stay. Stay with him. As a child that is wounded, hurt, afraid, lonely. And let the Father love you. And let God love you with this tender human heart. The sacred heart of a human heart. The heart of Jesus. Fully human and fully divine. May our emotions be the source of inspiration to our prayers. And our prayers always lead us to the Father as children who long and need desperately the love of our Heavenly Father.